Hey everybody, and welcome to this month's Anime Paint Night. So this Anime Paint Night is going to be the show Blue Lock, and our main character is Yoichi Isagi. Yes, you'll have a reference sheet eventually as well, but I just don't have it in this video. But you'll also have your watercolor palette if you requested it with a brush. You'll have your cup of water and such, not in the pack, but I recommend getting it. But Alright, so let's go ahead and get started with the skin tone. So we're going to go for the brown as per usual. Then what we're going to do is just lightly add a little bit of pigment. Go ahead and get the water to make that a little bit easier. But yeah, while we do the skin tone, just take note, he doesn't have a lot of skin tone exposed, honestly. It's his face, it's a small part of his neck, and it's his hands and what's exposed of his thighs. So yeah, not a lot of skin tone to work with, but yeah, we'll go ahead and make sure we do that. But while we're doing that, Blue Lock is an anime about soccer. But with a little bit of a twist. Most soccer anime, most sports anime, right? They have a lot of like camaraderie and working together as a team and all that jazz. Blue Lock is not like that. Blue Lock explores the idea of ego. Thinking about all the different star players in sports that we're familiar with, like basketball, we have like Michael Jordan and rest in peace Kobe Bryant, or more recently, right, that was his name, Steph Curry for the Golden State, right? Like we think of these people, but there's so many more people on the team, right? Or like thinking about quarterbacks like the Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, right? Mahomes, you think of Mahomes, but you don't think of the rest of the Chiefs, maybe Taylor Swift's boyfriend, you know? Basically, this anime explores the idea of what it means to be a star, right? On these teams. What it takes to have that ego and what that ego can actually do for your team. I'm not going to spoil too much. I'm just going to like maybe talk about like the first one or two episodes and stuff like that just a little bit going forward. But yeah, it's very fascinating. Grew up playing sports, grew up playing soccer and stuff. Grew up with the concept of there's no I in team. And to be exposed to an anime like this one where it's just like, hey man, sometimes you gotta have that eye. I did take off the light because the glare of it was like not showing the pigments that I was doing for the skin tone and other colors. So that's why I turned off the light there. Now it looks a little bit better. But yeah, it's very fascinating, but we'll talk about that in the next segment. But go ahead and finish the skin tone here, and I'll see you at the next section. Alrighty. Next, what we're going to do is I think you call it a rash guard. Yeah, like it's the clothes he's wearing underneath the jersey over his arms and such. It's a little tricky. Try your best with whatever colors you've got. What I'm doing is I'm doing blue, purple, and black, but primarily the blue and the black. Because like I didn't want to just have the sleeves be purple because the stripes down the sleeves looks more purple than it does blue. Like his color schemes for some of his darker colors ride that line of very dark blue, purple, black, and such. So that's kind of the flow that I'm going to do there. Alright, with that said, let's go back to talking about Yoichi. So, Yoichi, he was part of a soccer team, like high school team and stuff like that, right? And they were pretty good and stuff like that. That was a big game, a real big game. And, Yoichi, he had the ball. And he could have, if he took this shot, they would have won. You know what I'm saying? Like, he had that opportunity. And, Yoichi over here thinking like, oh, but I got to be that team player. I don't want to, I don't want to necessarily mess it up or anything like that, or What if I miss? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what? Let me pass the ball. My homeboy is open. I'm going to pass the ball. Passes the ball to the homie misses, they lose the game. And like Yoichi is like deeply conflicted about that, right? It's one of those things where like, oh, I dropped the pallet? That's wild. Wow, I definitely dropped the pallet. That's something else. Recover quickly though. Let's go. Anyway, but seriously, it's he had to really self-reflect on that. And then, lo and behold, he gets invited to a program. I think it's called, the title of the anime, I think it's called Blue Lock. And basically, in this program, you are put into soccer matches, almost like scrimmages, right? With other people who are also considered, like in their own right, in their own teams, star players. And like, y'all are gonna scrimmage, y'all are gonna play, and we're gonna see whose ego is like the largest, what have you, right? This is a very poor summary, but it's pretty much that, right? Now, the thing is, the biggest stipulation, and this is what really intrigued me about Blue Lock, was that if you lose in this program, you are not allowed to play soccer ever again. Which is a wild sentence, because like, wait. So how do you stop playing? How do you like make sure that we've stopped playing, right? Do you like cripple us, or are you watching us all the time and stuff? I don't know. I really didn't get too very far into this anime, but like that is what really drew me in. I was just like, whoa, okay. So now again, that concept of ego, right? You don't have the opportunity to be like, no, I'll let someone else do it. Now you really need to think about, okay, this is all on me. It's all on me for me to stay here. You can't play soccer alone, but if you're on a team of people who all think they're the star, might as well be playing alone. Let's move on to our next segment here. Alrighty, so now that we've got the stripes on the arms done, we're going to start moving on to the jersey. So the jersey and the shorts, my apologies. That's pretty much the easiest part. We've got blue. We're just going to use the blue. That's pretty much it. So with the blue, this is like his Blue Lock entry uniform. Like eventually, I'm sure in the anime he gets like other uniforms that are like way more like more traditional, like in usual soccer clubs and stuff like that, like, you know, Barcelona, Manchester United, and all that, Chelsea and such, right? But for now, this is like a standard Blue Lock uniform, number 11. So, with that said, we're gonna have to go ahead and consider what it means to be on a team with people, but everyone thinking that they're the star. Yoichi Isagi is definitely someone who has to like grow into that ego. He was considered one of the best people on his team, for sure. Like, undeniably so, he was one of the best people on his team, if not the best person on this team, which is why he got invited to this program in the first place. But he was, and I'm not saying kindness is a weakness. I'm not saying that. Definitely not that. But he had to come to terms with, like, when do you, as an individual, when is it important for you to actually have that ego to pull that trigger, you know? Because even if the what ifs are, well, what if I miss, or, well, this person has an open shot, give them the glory and stuff like that, you know? You might regret that decision because you don't necessarily have the opportunity to, you know, you don't really have the luxury of finding out what happens if the other person misses, you know? If you have the shot, why not take the shot? If you know that you're good, why not lean into that? There's nothing wrong with knowing that you are proficient at something, but I think the problem is, and the show explores that very well, I think the problem is deeply that ego gets in the way deeply of some of the people and succeeding in the Blue Lock program. You don't just have to have like an ego, I think. I think it's a matter of understanding when to utilize the people within your specific team, your environment. You have to, I mean, it sounds bad, but you might have to use them and stuff like that. You're in a team of people you have a team full of people who are all thinking they're number one. What are you going to do? But that's pretty much it. Let's move on to our next section. Alrighty, so now we've got the jersey, we've got the rash guard. Let's move on to his face again, and we're gonna start coloring his eyes. I know for a fact I'm not gonna be able to do his eyes justice, but I hope that you are able to. But basically, they are beautifully blue, like radiantly so. In the anime, it has like black outlines around the blue. Tremendous stuff. Then we're going to go for the hair. The hair is, like I said, he treads that line of dark blue, blue, purple, what have you. So we're going to kind of do the same method that we did with the rash guards. We're going to do the first layer black, and then we're going to just use the blue. After this next layer of blue, what we're going to do is get the black again and just make sure that it's darker. Because it's not prominently blue. It's, in my opinion, closer to black hair, but there's definitely blue, so that's why we're doing this multi-layer of black and blue and stuff like that. Nice thing is, though, because you're using watercolor, and you can have that wonderful freedom, you can even go outside of like the main parts of the hair, and you can add those like little flares, like the hair moving in the wind and stuff like that. It's a nice little touch. Then after we've done the hair there, let's make sure we do the eyebrows, because we want to make sure that the eyebrows match the hair pretty well. Oh, there's a little bit of hair underneath the right eyebrow that I forgot. We're going to go get that. But let's move on to our last portion after this. Alright, now on to our last portion of our anime paint night. One thing that's floating in the air there outside of the exclamation point is the soccer ball. Let's do the soccer ball for sure. One of the things that I did is I added some shading to the parts of the soccer ball that are to be colored in. Again, just like every anime paint night, you can feel free to do whatever creative feelings that you have, and you can color it what have you. You can even make it multiple colored and stuff like that. But I just wanted to make it a little bit easier to know where the like the darker parts of the soccer ball are. And I was thinking, well, I mean, you play in a field, right? So why don't we add a little bit of grass effects? So I go for the green here, get the little watercolor there, and we start the green over by like the soccer ball, kind of like, oh, so the soccer ball coming up is like picking up little blades of grass and such. And we do a little bit more of that going through, like so. Then, after that, I think about the fact that, well, I mean, the boy's working hard, right? So he's probably sweating. So we're going to go for the light. Oh, are we doing exclamation point first? We're doing exclamation point first. You can feel free to make that whatever color you want, obviously. I just thought the exclamation point was nice to show his alertness, what have you. But then we go for the light blue, and we add some little flecks of sweat. But that said, after that, we're pretty much done. So I highly recommend checking out Blue Lock. From talking about this, I'm definitely thinking about going back and looking at it myself. I think there's 2 seasons now. Heard the animation was better in the first than the second. That's usually how it goes. One Punch Man, here's looking at you. But I hope you have a wonderful day, and thanks so much. See you next month.